to invite a dedicated NCRI friend, an eminent Italian politician, the Foreign Minister of Italy from 2011 to 2013. Please welcome the Honorable Giulio Maria Terzi.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Madam Maryam Rajavi, President-elect of NCRI. Thank you all, courageous people of the Iranian resistance. Congratulations, first of all, for convening this conference at the moment of very difficult times, which are the times faced by the international community, by all Europeans and humanity for what is happening in Ukraine. And I believe that the coincidence is not a coincidence, but is a sign of the strength of values and principles which have been put forward and defended and sustained by the Iranian resistance and by your organization, Madam Rajavi, the organization of NCRI and the MEK, all along these decades, while the Iranian people and also other people in other countries have so deeply suffered because of the torture, the aggression inside and outside the country, the terrible acts of violence and repression of political opponents. Today, we are, for a time, finally for a case, for the Assadi case and these accomplices, we are in a moment of satisfaction and re-engagement because we see that the great principle and values that we all are defending, Iranians, Italians, Europeans, and many people and individuals in the world, can be successfully achieved, these principles and these values. And the sentence, the appeal in Belgium, has shown clearly that sooner or later, justice will prevail, is prevailing. And today, this is the reason of our strong satisfaction, which is at the same time a reason of re-engage even more forcefully and more convinced, if it is possible, because we have been committed, all of us, but especially NCRI and the MEK movement, committed to freedom, to humanity, to human dignity, and to implementation of human rights in that great country, which is Iran, and the Iranian culture, Iranian legacy. It is therefore important that we can today loudly affirm that justice is winning over the heinous and bloodthirsty regime in Tehran. And that was the decision of the High Court. It was very clearly and eloquently explained by the lawyer for the civil parties, the decision which not only confirms 3 very heavy sentences for the accomplices of Asadollah Assadi, but it even increases by 3 years one of the 3 condemnation and sentences. It confirms this sentence and this decision. It confirms what we all already knew, that Iran, ruled by the Ayatollah, is a terror state. Many of us, and especially people who have taken the initiative of presenting themselves as civil parties to the trial, but many, many others, tens of thousands of people were present that day in Villepinte 4 years ago, when Europe could have suffered a disastrous genocidal attack of a magnitude comparable, as many experts believe, to the terrorist attack of September 11 in New York, had not been prevented by the prompt reaction of the European law enforcement and intelligence community. The sentence passed today and confirmed in Belgium against Asadollah Assadi and the accomplices of Asadollah Assadi is therefore a pivotal moment. For the first time in Europe, a national court has ruled and definitely sanctioned a terrorist plot, and it has definitely established that the terrorist attack has been clearly ordered without any possible doubt by the Iranian leadership in Tehran. The case has brought once again to light, and with clear evidences, what is going to emerge also in other trials currently underway in European countries about the destabilizing role of the Iranian embassies worldwide, and especially in Europe. Assadi was an Iranian diplomat, quote unquote, serving his country at the Iranian embassy in Vienna. It is a duty for all European citizens to strongly invoke by all our government and institutions a very firm and well-coordinated transatlantic response, Europeans and Americans, the European governments and the American government, a transatlantic response against the huge threat represented by Iran's dual-use diplomatic network, because it is indeed a diplomatic network and at the same time a terrorist network. They are intertwined and they are the same thing. It is urgent to take a firm action against all Iran's embassy and consular offices, as in the case of Vienna and Tirana, responsible for providing cover and assistance to terrorist activities to the regime. These outposts of mullah's terror must be immediately closed and definitely removed. It is dramatically clear that there must be no place, there must be no appeasement any longer for this Iranian regime of terror, and even more after the election of Ibrahim Raisi, who is a mass murderer, who was in charge of the 1988 massacre of innocent political prisoners, dissidents and protesters, most of them killed simply because they were members of sympathizers, supporters of the MEK, and they were voicing the Iranian people's disgust for the supreme leader of the mullah's regime. No more excuses, no more exceptions, no more concession to this killer regime and to his president. We all remember the case of the Iranian-Swedish professor Ahmad Reza Jalali, arrested in 2016 and sentenced to death by the Revolutionary Court in 2017 on the basis of the same old elusive charges of spying for Israel. Now, due to the request last May the 5th by the so-called prosecutor of a sentence for life towards the regime henchman Hamid Nouri, the regime has announced that Professor Reza Jalali will be executed within 2 weeks. We cannot get blackmailed. We cannot anymore be blackmailed by this criminal regime. We should have never accepted to be blackmailed. We, in the sense the European community and the European states, which are practicing this appeasement policy I was referring to before. The European Union and its institutions are called to react firmly and to assure all support to a member state which is leading an effective action against murders directly involved in the massacres of thousands of political opponents. Thanks to the principle of universal jurisdiction for crimes against humanity and genocide, we have now been having for some time a valid instrument to bring likewise to justice the butcher of Tehran, Ibrahim Raisi, for the massacre of political opponents in 1988. A trial also in absentia against the president for his responsibilities in that genocide would be the decisive shot for the clerical regime in Tehran. It is now the time more than ever, Maryam Rajavi and dear friends, to stand up firmly and united, to demonstrate all our support and admiration for the 10 points plan, the constitutional proposal suggested by you, President Rajavi, the one and the only alternative to the tyrannical regime, an alternative for an Iran truly democratic, peaceful, respectful of human rights and of the rule of law. Thank you very much.